I'm not a giant fan of live music. And I think I find it too loud. I don't really like being too close to other people, just in general. It's not my thing. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Brain Blaze. As always, what happens here? Oh, no, I'm sorry. This script has not been written by Danny. I was about to launch into it. I see this is written by now more frequent guest author, Kevin, who more frequently writes me over on my other channel, Decoding the Unknown, which you should definitely check out if you like this stuff. I mean, the only similarity between it, honestly, is me and Kevin. It's a really different show. It's about, like, mysteries and but it's not like, oh my god, the Yeti's real. It's like, why the Yeti isn't real and why you're dumb for thinking so. It's like, well, it's kind of like, it's like, it's just dicking on things. That's what the show is.
New mystery team. There's a mystery afoot.
This is surprising celebrities who earned PhDs. I feel like I know a few of these. Isn't one of those rock star dudes from like, The Who? One of those bands? He's got a PhD in like astrophysics or something mental. It's like, holy okay. For many of us in America, speak for yourself, Kevin. Higher education is the bane of our existence. Speak for yourself, Kevin. It's not like I ever did anything with my higher education, but I did enjoy it. Since graduating college, I've paid back over $100,000 in student loans. Yet somehow I owe more money than when I started. What the actual
I'm broke!
I know my mind shouldn't be blown by this, but the fact that Kevin has paid $100,000, and so he must have had, somehow he's over $200,000. This is an insane amount of money. Absolutely, it's just mind-blowing. A friend of mine, he has like, I'm so worked up that I've got COVID from it. A friend of mine is so, like, he has, it's not like $100,000 or something, but it's like, I don't know, 50, 60K or something. And he's like, it's crazy. And it's just, it just blows my mind. And he's like 30 something years old. Still, he hasn't been in college in 10 years and he still owes all this money. Oh, what the And I'm like, what's the interest there? Oh, it's like 6%. And I'm like, excuse me? You what? And since I graduated at the beginning of the Great Recession, it's not like I could afford the money I was paying for my loans anyway. It's a up system that needs to be burned to the ground for the good of all Americans. Yeah, I mean, I do get the arguments for like student debt forgiveness, but it's quite economically challenging to do that just across the board, you know. It'd be cool though, wouldn't it? Unfortunately, that will never happen. Trying to get the majority of Americans to fix this stupid system is like trying to get a fraternity to stop hazing their pledges. When the people who get to make the decision are all of the mindset, I had to do it, so everybody else should too, nothing is ever going to change. Well, I do think that that's kind of like, I mean, people do this, but then you do get people, and they're the reformers, who are like, no, just because I had to do it, it doesn't make sense that everyone else has to do the same thing that I did. I know that's fair, but how about these people are just higher-minded than the rest of us petty bastards?
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
That's why I'm saddled and crippled with paying debt, while my pledge brother, Sloppy, drew the short straw and had to sodomize a goat. What is going on? But there's one class of Americans who don't have to worry about the cost of higher education. Fantastically wealthy celebrities. I'm sure there's something else here, but it was always like, I don't know. This is one of those moments where it's like, oh, my privilege is going to leak through. But it's like, yeah, student debt stuff. And it's always like, oh my God, you're going to be paying this back forever. And people are like, oh, you got to get a pension and all that stuff. And it's like, no. There's another solution. Just make loads of money and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Problem solved!
Great job.
I'd have a conversation like with my parents and stuff. And it was kind of like that hubris of youth, where I was always like, no, I'm not, I don't think I'm going to do this pension thing. It just seems like, I don't know, it doesn't really seem worthwhile. And besides, I'm going to get really rich at some point, and then I won't have to worry about it. And my parents were always like, well, you know, maybe you should just in case. And then it's like, well, worked out, didn't it? There are plenty of celebrities who everyone knows have earned the title of doctor, especially now that she's hosting Jeopardy. Everyone and their grandmother knows that TV's Blossom... Wait, I know who this is. This is the woman who was in The Big Bang Theory. Malika someone? She has a real-life PhD. I knew that, but I didn't know... Oh, I did know she was hosting Jeopardy, actually. Doesn't she co-host Jeopardy? I feel like I read this just the other day. As far as I can tell, Ken Jeong of Community and various R-rated comedies won't shut up about having been a medical doctor. Didn't know that. That's cool. As for British television presenter and particle physicist Brian Cox, most people would probably be surprised to learn his pop band was topping the UK charts in the 1990s than would be still... Kevin, this is the most awkwardly worded sentence that I've ever read in my goddamn life. Kevin! Let's try it again. As for British television... Okay, look, I know I also can't speak. Sorry, Kevin. It's also my inability to speak.
You can't even speak.
Yes, I can!
As for British television presenter and particle physicist Brian Cox, more people would probably be surprised to learn his pop band was topping the UK charts in the 1990s than would be to learn he earned a PhD. Wait, what the f*** are you talking about? Brian Cox, isn't he the long-haired dude who does the science shows in the UK? Pretty sure. He was in a pop band? I have to look it up.
A few moments later.
So I looked this dude up. I was getting confused for a second because I thought this might be the guy who was in the super famous band or whatever, but no, he was part of like a different band or something called Dare, which I hadn't heard of. However, it has a Wikipedia entry and it has albums and charts and all of this stuff. So that is still pretty mad impressive. Still, many celebrities have all the time and money in the world, and you can only fill so many hours of the day doing cocaine, so an astonishing number of them have turned to fill the rest of their time with education. They're just like all of you big brains who tune in to listen to Fact Boy educate you about the most important, read clickable, yes, news of the day. And I don't do news of the day, Kevin. All of my stuff is evergreen and thoughtful, and people will be watching this in 50 years and loving it just as much as they do right now.
Whoa. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
That's my retirement plan, and obviously I know it's not going to work. So I was like, yeah, evergreen, but it only lasts for so long. Like my videos from a few years ago, they'll get a few views, but it's not exactly, they're not raking in those views, are they? And in today's news, here are some celebrities that you may never have guessed had doctorates. Kevin, mate, I need to have a word with you about bloody introductions like I had with Danny, because this is absurd. No, in fact, Kevin, see this as me, instead of me sending an email to you, shorten the bloody introduction, mate. Oh, and we're not only counting celebrities that actually earn their degrees, it's completely adorable that Kermit the Frog delivered the commencement speech to Southampton College's class of 1996 after receiving his doctorate of amphibious letters, but that was an honorary degree. I don't think honorary degrees really count. You can't call yourself doctor if you have an honorary degrees. That is not okay. You can't do that. We're not counting them, even though Kevin says we are. They don't count. I also found out I'm rewatching Stargate Sg1, one of my favorite shows of all time. Just like, let's crack on with that again. Why not? And the great thing about watching shows again now is you can look up all the little facts. You know, you're sitting there, you're watching it, you can look stuff up on your phone as you want to. And Richard Dean Anderson, legend, is a brigadier general. He's an honorary brigadier general, but the Air Force liked him in Stargate, which he also produced, so much that they made him an honorary brigadier general, which is pretty cool. Professor Kazam, PhD. Kazam is America's second favorite African-American celebrity turned musical genie. Never heard of him. He's not quite as popular as the similar named one that never actually existed, but still more popular than the one that slapped Chris Rock in the face. Oh yeah, Will Smith. Wasn't this a Will Smith movie from a few years ago? Did anyone see that? It looked really bad, Will. But who is the man behind Disney's rapping genie? Like many NCAA stars, Shaquille O'Neal was drafted into... What the NCAA? This is the problem. Danny is British, so he's always using these British references, and I get like 90% of them. And then Kevin comes along, he's American. I'm like, oh, NCAA. Oh, do they say this NCAA? I still don't know what it is. But I don't know why I know how to say it. Was drafted into the NBA before he was a graduate from LSU. The only thing I know there is NBA is National Basketball Association. Baseball? No, Shaquille O'Neal's a basketball player. It would have been easy for Shaq to kick off his size 23 shoes. Holy lay back and enjoy all the money and fame that came from an NBA career. But Shaq was no fool. He understood that this ride wasn't going to last forever. He also had a promise to keep to his mama. When Shaq left LSU after 3 years, he had promised his mother that he would go back to school and get an education, and that was a promise that he intended to keep. In 2000, he completed his bachelor's degree and was even allowed to miss one of the team's home games to attend graduation. At the graduation ceremony, he told the crowd, "Now I can go out and get a real job." I'm sure that got a good laugh for everyone, but Shaq was serious about it. Sure, he still had 11 years left in his Hall of Fame career, but that's not something a player can predict. Injuries can happen, or better players can emerge. It's hard to stay on top. While playing in the NBA, Shaq continued his studies and earned his master's degree online from the University of Phoenix in 2005. That's pretty cool. Respect. And respect that foresight. Like, I'm always like, yeah, this YouTube ride could end any time, so I'm like, stack away that money, facts boy, because, I mean, I could go get a job or something. I don't have a problem with that. But in many ways, I'd be like, that sounds quite simple and enjoyable, and I mean, maybe, I don't know, I always liked my jobs in the past. I'm just generally quite a happy disposition person, so I'd be like, okay, no problem, but I'd also like to, you know, there's some people, like, and athletes especially, it's like they just rake in the money and then they spend all the money. I'm like, that sounds like a bad idea. Because especially like an athletic career can't last forever. An entertainment career probably won't last forever, but at least it potentially can. So, risky business, chaps.
Don't you dare.
Of this accomplishment, he said, "It's just something to have on my resume for when I go back into reality." Athletes aren't normally known for this level of forward thinking, just like I said, especially those at the top of their sport. So it's really commendable that Shaq was able to take his education much more seriously than the programmers at EA took Shaq Fu. Oh, callback. Near the end of his career, Shaq began working on his Doctor of Education in Human Resource Development from Barry University. In 2012, 1 year after his MBA career ended, he earned that degree with his doctoral thesis, The Duality of Humor and Aggression in Leadership Styles. That actually sounds quite interesting. I don't see myself as a leader, but I do have to point people in aggression. I'm not like an aggressive, but maybe I am. I'm not like, I've never been in any fights. I'm not this sort of aggressive, but I'm quite like aggressive with like, let's get it right. Let's do it. Come on now. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I think I probably do have quite an aggressive leadership style, but also one that is quite, you know, it's humor. It's bad humor, but it's still humor.
Okay.
It's a little bit of self-analysis there. Fascinating. I should read Shaq's dissertation. Part of which was planning for the future, and part of which was to stick it to all the douchebag business executives by showing them that he could hold his own in a conversation. Shaq may not actually be a professor, but as a doctor of education, he certainly is qualified to become one. However, it seems he may be interested in furthering his education even more. He revealed in interviews that he wanted to go to law school, not to actually practice law, just so that he could open and own his own law firm. Can't he do that anyway? Just open a law firm and hire some lawyers. Easy. Of course, now that actually I think you can't do that. I'm really like, a friend of mine does something in this space, and he was saying, because he does something and he has lawyers working for him, but he's not a lawyer himself, something like that. And he was saying, yeah, it can be a problem some places. Of course, now that he has a PhD, is a sheriff's deputy, and has a net worth of $400 million, he can probably afford to relax just a little bit. Yeah, but I mean, good on you for like being, it's incredible foresight. I'm really impressed. Like, famous top of the field athletes are terrible for their foresight generally. Then there's regular people who have terrible foresight anyway. There's very few people who are so like future orientated. That's cool. Shalom Nana. It's the morning of Monday, August the 18th, 1969. The greatest music festival in American history, Woodstock, was supposed to come to a close the night before, but due to a series of delays, the concert has run over. The Monday morning crowd is dwindling. People were exhausted, had jobs to get back to, or simply failed to ration their drugs properly to account for delays and have no intention of being at Woodstock sober. The remainder of the crowd is anxiously I never wanted to go to any of this stuff. There was the big one when I was young. There's Glastonbury, of course, but there's also the Reading Festival, and this was a big thing. And I'm not a giant fan of live music, and I think I find it too loud. I don't really like being too close to other people, just in general. It's not my thing, and I just never really liked concerts. There's a few concerts I've been to which I really enjoyed. I went to see Ben Folds back in the day. Big Ben Folds fan. And I think, have I been to any other concerts? Yeah, I saw David Ford, and I love David Ford, but I didn't really enjoy his concert. It felt like one of those concerts where he was just playing towards his fans, like super fans who always went to his concert. He's like, and now we know this bit we sing along to. And I'm like, David, I love your music. I know all the words, but I had no idea that this is the part we sing along to. Not in that way, like, just join in. That makes me sound like a complete square. Like, I don't want to join in singing at a concert. But it just felt like it was just for this group of people that comes to all of his concerts. And I was just like, oh, I felt like I wasn't as big a David Ford fan as I should be, even though I still love his music, but there was a phase of my life where it was all I listened to. And if you don't know David Ford, you should definitely check it out because it's bloody good. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, but big festivals. I just never really. It sounds like those things, but also combined with the fact that I have to sleep in a tent in the summer and take a poo in toilets that are horrible and pay too much for beer and water and be around people who do drugs. And I'm not. I mean, look, I like some drugs, but I'm not a big sort of like, let's pop some ecstasy or some MDMA. And MDMA is ecstasy, or is that? I don't even know. Oh my god, I'm so square. MDMA is ecstasy. What's the other one? LSD. I'm not... not my scene. Not my tempo. The remainder of the crowd is anxiously awaiting argument. Simon, why did you go on this giant tangent about your life? No one cares. Dude, come on. The remainder of the crowd is anxiously awaiting arguably the greatest guitarist of all time, Jimi Hendrix, to take the stage. Hendrix was the final act of Woodstock, and after fans waited for 3 days, the stage was finally taken at 7:30 a.m. by Sha Na Na. Who the is this? Sha Na Na was a rather odd anachronistic band. They began as a cappella group at Columbia College in New York before deciding to perform commercially. They had only formed in 1969, yet Jimi Hendrix happened to see them perform at a club and he wanted them at Woodstock. For those wanting to see Jimi Hendrix, instead of being treated to a rock doo-wop act dressed like they were straight out of the 1950s as they danced around the stage performing covers, was unexpected and extremely dizzy. I'm here to see Jimi Hendrix. Not some band that Jimi Hendrix saw in a bar. What the f***? It's absurd that a group like this could even exist in 1969, let alone perform at Woodstock, but the audience loved it. Alan Cooper was the bass singer for the original incarnation of Sha Na Na. He can be seen singing the lead in At the Hop in the Woodstock movie. As one of the founding members, Cooper naturally got swept up in the band's success, yet after a couple of years, he decided it was time to move on, though he did briefly return to the band when the replacement bass singer, Bowser, got sick. Cooper finished his bachelor's at Columbia University in 1971 and went on to earn both his master's and doctorate from Yale. Heard of Yale? That's a good university. He's a big brain. In the rock world, the band was somewhat of a counterculture movement. Late 60s rock was all about drugs and politics, but Sha Na Na took the stage, said all that stuff. Let's dance! So, what would be their area of expertise of the great rock star graduate of Yale? It's gotta be cool. You're like an actual legitimate rock star. You're just sitting in class at Yale. People be like, shit, he's like a famous... Is that Bono? Just in here with us. Is that just Bono just studying and he's in our study group and I'm doing a project with Bono? It'd be pretty mental, right? That's right. Alan Cooper obviously received his PhD in religious studies. He would serve as a faculty member of both McMaster University before making it to the big times. In 1997, he earned a position as the provost at the Jewish Theological Seminary. And in 1998, he was appointed professor of Bible at Union not professor of the Bible, it's just professor of Bible at Union Theological Seminary, a Christian school.
The Bible. This is the Bible.
Wow, he's really jumping around those religions, isn't he? I guess that's the thing. Religious studies is not about a specific religion. It's about religion as a whole. He was the first person to ever hold a joint professorship at both schools, which was described as a major step towards strengthening ties between the two schools. Could it be a major step in strengthening ties between the Jewish and Christian communities at large? Probably not. Despite never telling any of his students about his time as a famous musician, somehow they all seem to know. Be like, wait, is that Bono? They're gonna know, dude. Probably because kids aren't stupid, and the second one student finds out, every other student that ever goes to that school for the rest of time will know. Exactly. That is exactly how it is. However, this knowledge has only helped him in the classroom. Cooper says that students are always more focused on the teacher rather than on the material. Professors, especially in the fields like theology or philosophy, are often seen as stuffy and uptight, judging others from their ivory towers, despite never having done anything besides spend their time in a classroom. What do you want a professor of philosophy to do? Go out there and do some real world philosophizing? Practical philosophy sounds like it could be a thing.
I stand corrected.
But then you drift into isn't this what's that thing? The School of Life, where they talk about the application of philosophy to I don't know. Look, let's just move on, all right? But practical philosophy sounds oxymoronic in a way, doesn't it? But I'm sure there's philosophers being like, what are you talking about, Simon? Philosophy's great. It's super applicable in real life. And I'm like, okay, I'm sure in some ways, but it's not applicable in the same way that engineering is it? In talking about shedding that stereotype and how students perceive the information differently based on the teacher, he raised a good point. I don't know how you can make the Bible dull. He's absolutely right. Whether you believe in the Bible as the word of God or simply as a work of fiction, we should all be able to agree that the book is fucking wild. Yes. I don't believe in that, but it is this is some crazy on the Bible, no one can deny. The Bible has enough murder and incest in it to make Game of Thrones look like Goodnight Moon. Dr. Robocop. Actor Peter Weller has had an impressive career in show business. He began on Broadway in the 1970s before landing his first movie role in 1979. He went on to appear in more than 40 theatrical film releases, as well as another 30 or so television appearances. As many actors do, he's even done voice work for the myriad of different characters he has played. None is more iconic than Robocop. His performance as Robocop was so impressive that it earned him a nomination for a Saturn Award for Best Actor. Granted, the Saturn Award is given out by the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy and Horror Films, so there's not so much competition, but it's still impressive. He has loads of science fiction films. This is still good. Weller's job as Robocop was to stand still, shoot people, and show as little emotion as possible. Even earning a nomination for a role like that is remarkable. But acting is a gateway drug, and it was only a matter of time before his showbiz buddies would introduce him to a new addiction: medieval and Renaissance art. If you were to tell me that a millionaire actor was really interested in Renaissance art, I would assume it was your polite way of saying that he rolled up original Da Vinci paintings to store lines of cocaine, but Weller was actually interested in the art itself. Wait, why can't actors be interested in stuff like that? People are interested in all sorts of weird shit. He had earned his bachelor's in theatre back in the 1970s, but in 2004, Weller earned his master's degree in Roman and Renaissance art from Syracuse University. He would even occasionally return to the school to teach courses in ancient history, but none of this was enough to sate his addiction. In 2000, Weller began working on his PhD in Italian Renaissance art from UCLA. While a PhD program can be completed in 3 to 4 years, he was still working on it. He was still working as an actor, so it took a little longer. In 2013, Weller appeared in Star Trek Into Darkness as Admiral Alexander Marcus, the guy who reinstated Kirk and gave him definitely legal orders to go and murder Khan. Star Trek. Love it. The date of the Star Trek premiere would coincidentally be the same date that Weller had to defend his dissertation titled Alberti Before Florence, early sources informing Leon Battista's Alberti's de Pictura. Unlike the previous one, where it was aggression in leadership or whatever, I have no idea what this is about. Despite decades of experience on stage and on camera, and even having taught academic courses, Weller said that he was nervous to defend his paper. He talked about how tough academia is, stating that the movie business, by comparison, is cream cheese. Is it, though? There's many more academics than there are movie stars. Real movie stars making good money doing movie star stuff. Whatever that means. Yeah, eat cream cheese. This is a weird metaphor, my dude.
You weird, buddy. You're weird!
To this day, Weller continues to occasionally teach classes and publish academic papers. There are so many more celebrities I'd love to be able to talk about, and so many of them are musicians, from lead singer of Gua, never heard of it, earning his PhD in music, to Jackie Fox of the Runaways, earning her doctorate of jurisprudence and becoming a working lawyer, to the lead singer of The Offspring, I know that one, earning his PhD in molecular biology, which is cool, to one half of the comedy music duo Ninja Sex Party, having a doctorate in particle physics. The list of educated musicians seems endless. Hell, Alan Cooper wasn't even the only member of Sha-Na-Na to earn a PhD. Outside of music, of course, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, creator of the brilliant Sherlock Holmes, was a doctor of medicine. Was he really? I had no idea, yet still stupid enough to believe in ghosts. They don't feel like they should mesh, right? It just goes to show that PhDs are everywhere. They can look and act like regular people, but they walk among us, hiding in plain sight. Aruba's, there's even one hiding among the writers of the Whistlerverse over on Casual Criminals. That's true. A few of my writers have doctorates, which is nice. So be careful next time you meet a kindly stranger, as they may actually be a doctor in disguise. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Sam. Thanks, Danny, I guess. I don't know. Let's just thank Danny. Love you, Danny. And I'll see you next time. Then would be still... Kevin, this is the most awkwardly worded sentence that I've ever read in my goddamn life.